Michael Wolff's book's coming out. Steve Bannon unloads on Donald Trump and his inner circle, mainly his inner circle, but also Trump. And the guys he can't stand the most are what he calls Javanka. So Ivanka and Jared Kushner. So Kissinger is quoted in the book as saying the war within the White House was the Jews versus the non-Jews. Ooh, that doesn't sound good, right?
No.
So Kushner is Jewish and Ivanka, Donald Trump's daughter, obviously converted to Judaism. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It's just a side note, okay? But certainly they did not like each other. That's the important part. Now we told you in overall coverage of the story that Bannon had said this is all about money laundering. Mueller chose Andrew Weissman as senior prosecutor first, and he's a money laundering guy. Their path to fucking Trump goes right through Paul Manafort, Don Jr., and Jared Kushner. So now, again, we had told you on this show for about a year that it's the money laundering, stupid. That's the real heart of this issue. Now, as chief strategist confirms that. Okay, now let's go to Kushner. This is really important. Bannon says it goes through Deutsche Bank and all the Kushner shit. The Kushner shit is greasy. They're going to go right through that. They're going to roll those two guys up and say, play me or trade me. Okay, so when they do that, there might be yet another shocking thing that happens, which is Jared Kushner flipping on Trump. Now, that seems unthinkable. He's his son-in-law. He's married to Ivanka. But remember, Javanka actually cares a little bit about self-respect and respectability and the mainstream. And they're always tiptoeing around the issues and trying to distance themselves a little bit. Yeah. Charlottesville was bad and this and that. And
we supposedly care about women.
Right,
supposedly.
Right, but to their credit, like, yeah, they're not quite as monstrous as Trump in some of those things. It's a good thing to criticize Charlottesville, right? What happened in Charlottesville. So, but Kushner is gonna wanna save his own ass. If Bannon is right and we are right, and this is a category 5, and it is money laundering, and we're not talking about, hey, did the Russians buy $46,000 in Facebook ads? Whatever. We're talking about money laundering hundreds of millions of dollars for the Russians for decades, okay? If that's what this is about, and everybody's going to jail, could Kushner flip? My answer is yes. I don't perceive Jared Kushner as a guy who says loyalty above everything else. If my papa is going to jail, well, I'll be in the cell next to him. I see him as the guy who goes, well, anyways, I gotta go. So I might be right, I might be wrong, but look for Kushner flipping. Not now, we're not there yet. But if it gets deep enough and this is not resolved, the straw that broke Trump's back could be Kushner.
It's also possible, is based on nothing except the past people who have been indicted, but I believe in the case, it seems like Flynn and definitely Papadopoulos, like you have these people that indictments come out, all of a sudden it's big news and everything, but they had already been providing information to Mueller for some time. And so it's likely that if Jared was to flip one day, or we were to find out about it, he could have already been feeding information to Mueller for a month or two at that point. That seems to be how Mueller is operating.
And one other thing about the guys who flipped, the reason Manafort hasn't flipped is because he's totally and completely guilty, and he's been guilty for decades. So he's got nothing to flip. I mean, in the sense that he's part of the conspiracy in such a gigantic way. Kushner could say, he's been doing that for all this time. I mean, I got married into the family a couple of years ago. I don't know anything about that, man. Okay, but I'll give you what I know, and I'll do this and this and this.
Might be hard since he was at that meeting.
Yeah.
But that also gives him information.
It gives him, at least he was at the meeting where they met with the Russian lawyer and discussed lifting the sanctions on the Russian oligarch, which is the central part of the deal that it seems Trump has struck with the Russians, at least according to Bannon, according to all available evidence, etc. So if his own son-in-law and his beloved Ivanka are the ones that do him in, oh, that is going to be rich and wonderful.
The only thing that would be better, and I don't see how it could happen, would be if it were Tiffany.
If Trump goes down.
I don't see it happening.
I have a tweet saved ready to go if Trump goes down. It just says, sad baby. You just watched the video by the Young Turks, home of the revolution. If you'd like to get a lot more than that, get the full show by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.